now that we are into fall, definitely into fall, you can feel it up here in Michigan. There's a few things to do to get ready for winter prep. If you haven't pulled any honey yet, if you're going to, only take from the supers. Anything in the brood boxes, leave it at this point. You want to make sure that your bees are going to have enough food to get through winter. Especially last winter. If this winter turns out like last one, where we have a long, slow, and mild winter, you're going to want to make sure your bees have food. I know a lot of colonies starved out last year. In the beginning, middle of spring, when just because they were so active, it was so warm and mild over the winter, they ate too much of their food, and then they starved in the spring while they're trying to ramp up their numbers to be able to forage for those resources, but they didn't have enough resources to build themselves up to continue the process. So that's a big issue, is making sure that they have food. If you're a little worried, you can feed sugar syrup. At this point in the year, I would feed a 2-to-1 or even a 3-to-1 sugar syrup mix, just to make sure that it can dry fairly quickly, and the bees can handle that a little bit better. I find the thinner syrups work best in the spring and summer as a supplement, because of the temperatures, whereas when it's colder, you don't want as much liquid in there. You want more of the dissolved sugar. It's a bigger energy boost for them. At this point in the year too, a lot of beekeepers, especially here in Michigan, because we get the wet lake effect snow, is going to start thinking about how to protect their hives from the snow, the moisture, the wind, all that bad stuff. One company that does make products to keep your hives a little bit warmer is called Bee Cozy, and they have a product that's essentially it's quilt batting inside of a plastic sheath that's measured and cut to fit about a brood size box. I think you can get them into 2- and 3-story heights as well, but they are very expensive. For the price of one Bee Cozy, you can go to any hardware store really and get a large sheet of the 4-foot by 6-foot pink housing insulation. It comes with a big sheet, roughly for about the same price, if not 2 or 3 of those for the price of a Bee Cozy. And then you can just cut the insulation to the size of your hive, so it doesn't matter really what size your hive is. You can customize it for your management system or style. And for me, that's what I do, because for the price wise, I think it's a better deal. And I cut mine kind of an all standard. I run my hives in a standard height for me. 2 brood boxes, 2 honey supers, so I cut all mine the same height. And then in the winter, you can duct tape them or ratchet strap them to your hive. It works just the same. The only issue with that is it can make your hives a little too warm, keep them too active. The cooler temperatures aren't really gonna hurt them too much. They've survived for hundreds of thousands of years without us. So the only real big issue that you have in regards to that is moisture issues, which can kill a hive pretty quickly, because they do vibrate and they share body heat during the winter. Just like with people in a cold vehicle, the bees in the hive, it's gonna kind of fog up, condensate on the inside of the hive there, and if it collects and falls on them, and then we get a cold night and they freeze, that's gonna kill them. But the cold temperatures themselves won't kill them. The third big thing besides food and hive protection is going to be pests. But real quick before that, in the hive protection still, you really don't need to block the wind or put them in a shed or anything like that. You don't really need to do that. We don't quite get that cold where it's necessary. Really, all you need is a wind block something to keep the snow from piling up in their entrance or on their front porch, so that way there's some kind of air circulation. Other than that, it's not too bad. They can take care of themselves pretty well. The third thing is going to be pests. The big pest that kills a lot is the mites, the varroa mites. Especially if you haven't treated your hives all summer, there's a really high chance that your hive has mites. If you've got a hive, you're pretty much guaranteed to have mites. It really just depends on the level and severity of the mites. You want to knock them down as much as possible, and the varroa mites grow and circulate with the growth of the bees. As a honeybee grows in its cell, as from an egg to a bee in its cell, that's where the varroa mite also propagates and grows as well. So breaking the brood cycle mid to late summer and treating for that specifically is a good idea. Another couple that are really common to treat for, especially right before winter, just to make sure that everything is the best that it can be, you've done what you could, is to treat for hive beetles and wax moths. A really kind of a neat way to keep hive beetles and moths down is to actually have a chicken. Get a chicken that runs around by your hives and things, and they'll eat a lot of the insects and the beetles and the bugs that'll try to get in there. So that's one thing to do. There's also different chemical ways that you can treat for them, and a few other mechanical ways that you can. They're very labor intensive, and they don't quite really work, in my opinion. I would much rather do like an oxalic acid treatment or Apivar, Apigard, beetle traps, that kind of thing. So that's a few things to think of going into winter, and hopefully it helps you not be so stressed out about getting your hives through winter. As long as they have a wind block, they've got a really good amount of food, and their pest count is down, you stand a pretty good chance. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know, and we'll go from there.